Hi, my name is Susan Young. I'm Manager of Resident and Employee Services in Public Works for the City of St. Paul. This Garbage 101 is the presentation that was made to the St. Paul Garbage Advisory Committee on January 20th, 2022. Garbage 101 is intended to provide the committee with the information that they need to start designing a new program and provide their advice to the City Council and the Mayor's Office for what we should be looking at in October of 23 when a new garbage program will begin in St. Paul. So to begin, let's talk about what is garbage. In state law, solid waste is the overarching term that includes garbage, appliances, large items, furniture, recyclables, yard waste, and organic items. Garbage includes anything unwanted that is thrown out from a household. We're talking about households, not commercial properties, such as pet poop, litter and shavings, child and adult diapers, empty toothpaste tubes, Band-Aids, all those things that you don't want that you cannot recycle or compost. Um, I realize that there are folks who believe that they are zero waste, but really to be a zero waster is very, very difficult. Even medieval folks could not be zero wasters. One of the things that I have noticed in the solid waste industry is the great increase in things like adult diapers, disposable razors, broken small appliances, things that we really can't recycle or reuse that still have to be thrown out and gotten rid of from our homes. Garbage does not include construction and demolition waste. We call it C&D. The lumber, the toilets, window glasses are not recyclable. Automotive waste, the bumpers, the oil, the fuel filters, hazardous and household waste. And we're going to talk about a little bit more about each of these categories. So prop materials are those things that are too big to fit in a cart. They have fluids or hazardous materials in them, or they can't be processed at the garbage facility where we take our garbage. Prop materials, mattresses, and overstuffed furniture. It's really tough to get those things through the grinders at the RDF uh, facility. Tables, bookcases, credendas, medium and large appliances, lawnmowers, trimmers and snow blowers, battery operated toys, anything battery operated like drills, chainsaws, and leaf blowers, and then electronics. The medium and large appliances, those often have fluorescent light bulbs. They have resistors and capacitors that are actually hazardous materials that have to be removed before the metal in those appliances can be recycled. Lawnmowers, snow blowers, similar items, they have fuel and oil tanks in them that have to be double drained um, and those fluids removed before the metal in those items can be recyclable. Battery operated items, the lithium ion batteries are extremely hazardous. If those batteries are punctured or crushed, they can explode. They can literally burst into flame. They are very, very dangerous in the packer trucks or in the facilities that process our garbage and prop materials. Traditional recyclables, those are the things that we've been working on since the 70s. Glass and metal food and beverage containers, bottles, plastic bottles, cups, some plastic containers, paper and paperboard, corrugated cardboard, cartons and juice boxes are recyclable in St. Paul. We cannot accept with your recycling any plastic film wrappers, the extruded foam. Some of it goes under the trade name of styrofoam. Black plastic containers cannot be recycled in St. Paul, and large things like laundry baskets, plastic laundry baskets, big plastic toys, big wheels, kid slides, things like that. Cords, hoses, and light strings are considered tanglers. They really mess up the automated equipment in a recycling facility and should not be recycled, cannot be recycled. And scrap metal is not recycled in St. Paul. There are a lot of really great places to take your scrap metal that'll actually pay you for them. One quick item A lot of folks see the recycling symbol on their black plastic takeout containers and think that they're recyclable. In St. Paul, an automated system is used for the fine detail on recycling containers. And when an optic scanner looks at the black plastic container, no light bounces back, it's black. So those containers don't get sorted well at the recycling facility and end up as contamination, which reduces the value of the recyclables on the market. So black plastic containers are garbage, they are not recyclable. There are three options for city residents for yard waste right now. Residents can contract with a hauler who will provide weekly service April through November. That is a yearly bill. So even in the months that you are not putting out yard waste, you're paying for those yard waste months. Residents also have an optional service. You can pay by the bag and that will be billed on your following quarterly bill that you'll receive from your garbage hauler. You can drop off yard waste with your organics at the county yard waste sites. There's no additional charge for that, and those sites are open year round. Yard waste by state law cannot go in the garbage cart. And when you take your yard waste to one of the yard waste sites, you cannot leave any plastic bags that you collected the yard waste in. The plastic bags are prohibited in the metro area from a yard waste drop off site. Holiday trees, which I could call seasonal interior decor. In St. Paul, these trees are collected by haulers January 2nd through 15th at no additional charge. Outside these weeks, the holiday tree or the seasonal decor that is collected as a bulky item, and in St. Paul, that would count against your 2 or 3 bulky items. Now, you can drop off a tree year round at one of the county yard waste sites, but please make sure that there aren't any wires or garlands on those trees when you drop them off. Food scraps, certified compostable materials, things that have that little BPI symbol, and non-recyclable papers. Ramsey and Washington the Recycling and Energy Board is developing a program to collect those organics in separate bags in your garbage cart. They'll be sorted at the R&E Center for composting. The R&E board is hoping to have their facility at least in startup phase at the end of 2022, beginning of 23, and they'll be putting pilot programs together as soon as they can start working out the bugs and doing the startup at that facility. The St. Paul target is early 23. Now, those organics will be subject to taxes at this time because they're collected with garbage. And we'll talk about the taxing of garbage a little bit later in this presentation. Ramsey County has committed to maintaining and expanding the organics drop-off locations in St. Paul. There's a new one up in Highland that is getting great traffic. But even after the organics programs in your garbage cart are started and are running well, the county has committed to keeping the organics drop-off locations in St. Paul so that you have a no-tax way of recycling and composting your organics and non-recyclable papers. Household and other hazardous waste. People hear the term hazardous waste and it's like, oh my goodness, it's awful. Actually, most of the household hazardous wastes are underneath the bathroom sink. They're in your kitchen cabinets. They're in your garage on the shelves. Bleach, insect killers, even those little circular ant traps, fluorescent light bulbs, rechargeable batteries, string lights, thermometers, nail polish, Clorox, ammonia. All those things are hazardous materials. Yes, I know we use them every day. We don't think of them as hazardous. But an example that I often use is there are folks who want to get that toilet bowl extra clean. So they'll put some Clorox in there and it's not quite doing things as fast as they want. So they add a little bit of ammonia and their toilet blows up. Yes, it will blow up. When even small amounts of liquids that you put in your garbage cart interact in the packer truck, those things can become combustible. They can be put in the truck and happen to be next to somebody else's hot ashes from their grills that they thought were out but really weren't, and create a hot load or a garbage truck packer on fire. That is not only a dangerous situation, but since those fires often destroy the hydraulics first, there's no way of pushing that load out to protect the truck. So what we're asking is that do not include any liquids, no hot ashes, none of these materials in your garbage. They can't go in your recycling and they cannot go in your yard waste cart. Ramsey County has a year-round drop-off that you can use at no additional charge. That's part of your Ramsey County taxes and the county CEC tax. Ramsey County residents can also use the Washington County facilities. These are open year-round. Ramsey County also does some special drop-off events for hazardous materials. Please use these for the hazardous materials that we all accumulate around our homes and garages and outbuildings. So where does all of our garbage grow? And there is a lot of it. All residential and commercial garbage that's collected in Ramsey County must go to the Newport facility, the Recycling and Energy Center. That facility is jointly owned by Ramsey and Washington counties. And what they do there is material comes in on the tipping floor, it goes up a conveyor belt into a grinder. That material is ground into fluff. Some metal items that are some metal items can be taken out using magnets, and that material is recycled if they can pull it out. But that waste is ground into a fluff, which we call RDF, or refuse derived fuel, that is burned by Excel and produces electricity. The facility right now is under construction. It's being modified to sort regular recyclables because not everybody puts all their regular recyclables in the recycling container. And it'll also take bagged organics. It'll process what's left by either anaerobic digestion or gasification after the contract with Xcel Energy to take RDF is over. The Recycling and Energy Board sets the tipping fees since the two counties jointly own the facility. They have to recover the costs of operating that facility. And the tipping fee, it's an old term that derives from when garbage trucks weren't so much packers and they tipped up the back of the truck to dump their load. The tipping fee is set by the Recycling and Energy Board. The 2021 tipping fee was $84 a ton. The 22 tipping fee is $87 a ton. And the 2023 tipping fee will go up significantly to $99 a ton, but that is to pay for the improvements that they're making to the R&E Center. St. Paul cares very, very deeply about waste reduction. And the city established in 2014 a residential waste diversion goal of 80%. And we are striving to achieve that 80% reduction by 2023. On the right side of the chart is Minnesota's waste hierarchy. And a lot of times you'll see that as an upside down triangle. This one is a little bit easier for folks to see. What we are looking for folks to do, we want you to reduce the amount of waste that you're creating. In other words, when you're making a purchase, choose something with the least packaging. Choose a purchase that you know will last for years and years and years, so you're not replacing your coffee maker every 6 months or a year. Think about your purchasing, think about the way that you handle waste, and reduce at the front end where your waste, what you will have as waste. And then we're asking folks to reuse items. I grew up on a farm. Reuse was a standard thing. We never threw out baling twine because you can use it to fix a fence. You can reuse clothing, make it into new clothing, make torn clothing into pillows. I've seen some really cool purses. Lots of reuse items, reuse or reimagine. Recycling is yes, it is alive and well. Yes, it is cost effective. And yes, it does reduce the energy that is needed as opposed to make new things, as opposed to using raw or virgin materials. It takes 75% less energy to make glass out of recycled glass than out of bauxite. And it takes 95% less energy to make a new aluminum can out of an old aluminum can rather than, pardon me, glass out of silica, aluminum out of bauxite. So we ask you to recycle. It is a great way to divert waste that you generate in your home. Composting, whether at your home, whether by using one of the drop-off sites, whether by taking material to a large-scale composter, composting is a great way to not only sequester carbon, but also to divert waste. Waste to energy, that's the RDF, the refuse derived fuel that we talked about earlier. And landfilling is the least preferred option, which is why when you see that upside down triangle, it's a tiny little pointy piece at the bottom of the upside down triangle. The city's climate resilience plan has 5 priority strategies. Um, First, do that reduction, prevent the generation of waste. Ensure that environmental justice is included in all of the programs that St. Paul uses to manage our waste. We're continuing our education and outreach partnerships with Ramsey County, with district councils, and with individual neighborhood organizations. Some of you may have seen the story strolls that we partner with the parks to give you some really special education on recycling topics. We demonstrate city leadership in our operations and events. For instance, in public works, we are greatly reducing our waste and our energy consumption by using brine, liquid brine in some of our snow and salt operations instead of that old rock salt that you used to see. And we coordinate with Ramsey County to handle debris from emergency situations. We hope that these things don't happen, but we know that tornadoes, ice storms, floods, they do occur in St. Paul. And I think that most citizens would be absolutely astounded at the amount of tree debris, for example, that happens after an ice storm or a tornado. Weight and volume-based garbage pricing. Minnesota law requires that local governments who collect charges directly from their customers have to implement prices that increase as the volume or weight of the waste that people are disposing of that those cities are collecting increases. Now, the city does not directly at this time bill garbage. The Haulers Consortium bills customers for garbage. But as part of the contract that the city put together with the haulers, there are 4 levels of solid waste service that St. Paul customers can choose. There's a small cart every other week, and in 2022, the charge for that will be $59.30. There's a small cart every week at almost $70. There's a medium cart every week at $96, and a large cart every week, and that is $106.81. I've had a lot of questions. Why doesn't the the charge for garbage go up with the volume of the cart? In other words, if you had 44 gallons, that should be twice as much as 22 gallons. Or if you have a small cart every other week, that should be half as much as a small cart every week. That's because there are things that go into the cost of garbage service rather than just the disposal of your garbage. And this is what goes into the cost of solid waste service. Collection costs are more than just the garbage itself. There are non-fuel collection costs. Garbage companies have billing and customer service operations. They have people that drive the trucks. A garbage truck these days is well north of $180,000, and they don't last forever. Those trucks need to be maintained. The garbage companies have property, they pay property taxes, they have to maintain their properties. So there's a lot of non-fuel costs that go into collection of your garbage. fuel, whether it's diesel or whether it is compressed natural gas, that is a cost. Trucks don't run without it. Now, each of the sizes of service has a piece of the total collection that is dedicated to that. Billing is one of the non-collection costs, and really it costs the same for me to bill somebody with a large cart or for a company to bill somebody with a small cart or an every other week cart. Billing is a constant cost. In St. Paul, depending on what size service you choose, you can have either 2 bulky items per year at no additional cost for either of the small cart options, or 3 bulky items per year, the large items, if you have the medium or large cart. Because the bulky item opportunity is different, there is a different cost for between the small carts and the medium and large carts for bulky items. We do recognize that there is less disposal of material from a small cart than there is in a medium or large cart, and so the disposal costs associated with each of the size categories is different. Now, as a trash person in a city that I worked for a few years ago, we did weigh and look at the actual differences of people with small carts and medium and large carts. And what we found when we weighed those carts was that folks that use small carts are more efficient with their space in the small cart. Um, Going on an old candy bar ad, I call those stuffy, not fluffy. So what happens is if you've got a small cart and you've got an ice cream container, um, that a plastic ice cream container. Instead of just putting that ice cream container in your cart empty, if you've got a small cart, you tend to put the broken toothbrush and the plastic bags, or maybe some wire or rubber bands that broke. You put those things into an ice cream container before you put it into your garbage cart. Whereas if you've got a large cart, you feel expansive. The KFC bucket just goes in the garbage cart without a lot of stuff in it. And so those carts tend to have less weight, less weight per volume than small and every other week carts do. So the non-fuel fuel billing, bulkies, and disposal, that goes into the base rate that St. Paul customers are charged for their garbage. Onto that base rate are included taxes. The CEC is the county environmental charge, and I referred to that earlier when I talked about the way that Ramsey and Washington counties are partially going to pay for the improvements to the Newport facility. The county environmental charge pays for some of the work at the facility. It pays for the education work that Ramsey County does. It pays for that household hazardous waste program that we talked about, the organics and yard waste drop-off programs, all the things that Ramsey County does for garbage and solid waste and environmental services. The MSWT tax is the Minnesota Solid Waste Tax, and that is the tax that is placed by the state of Minnesota on all garbage. And it pays for landfill monitoring, it pays for the solid waste portions of the Pollution Control Administration at the state. It pays for state items, including some of the closed landfill work that are associated with garbage in Minnesota. So you can see on this chart that after we add the taxes to the base rate, that's what we're looking at for your charge. In January of every year, the prices, according to our contract with the garbage haulers, have the opportunity to increase. And this year, when we did our negotiation with the haulers, we tried to make sure that the smallest every other week carts had as low a cost increase as we possibly could do, with the bulk of the increase going to the larger cart sizes. That is because in previous years, there had been a little bit of an inequity with the small carts and the large carts. Still covered the cost of those services, but again, St. Paul is committed to sustainability. We want to encourage people as much as possible to divert waste instead of putting it in their garbage carts. Most folks have noticed that there is an administrative fee on your property taxes. There are two administrative fees. One is for garbage and one is for recycling. The garbage fee is $28.08 per dwelling unit per year for all 1 to 4 unit buildings. The garbage fee pays for the city customer service, our education and waste reduction activities, anything that the city garbage program does. Um, it pays for the city recovery of hauler bad debt and late fees. Basically, if a resident doesn't pay the hauler or pays the hauler late and then does not pay the late fee to the hauler submits those bills to the city and we reimburse the haulers. Yes, we do put that amount onto for the property taxes of the resident that had the bad debt. But what happens is that the city doesn't recover that money that we paid to the haulers for 2 to 3 years because of the assessment cycles. And so there is an amount of money that the city has to essentially float to be able to pay the bad debt in accordance with our contract with the haulers before we recover that money. The garbage fee also pays for for the garbage carts. Yes, there was a large amount of money that was initially paid out to buy the garbage carts, but we are spending between $115,000 and $120,000 every year to replace lost or damaged carts. Uh, the way I try and explain the lost carts is that carts have a tendency to go on dates. Sometimes they date within their alley and carts just get switched between a couple of neighbors. Sometimes carts go on dates into a commercial area. They want to go to a restaurant or they want to go to a commercial building and we find carts there. Sometimes carts do intercity dating, and so we try and work with our surrounding communities when City of St. Paul garbage carts are found in West St. Paul or Minneapolis or Matamidi. We try and get those carts back. We also have a huge amount of damage to our carts, and that little tree rat in the picture is a big reason why. Squirrels do an incredible amount of damage to the garbage carts. I've never figured out why they are so attracted to those carts, but they are, and they will do whatever it takes to chew through the lids or the bodies of the carts. And we can't do plastic patches on carts. I'm sorry, that that plastic material does not patch easily, um, but we have to replace those carts. Another big piece that the garbage fee pays for is debt service. And right now, that is over $883,000 a year. And the processing of those assessments that I talked about earlier, um, we spend at least $3,500 each quarter just on the mailing and notification costs. And there are an additional 4.5 full-time employees that are required to make sure that the charges that the haulers give us are correct and appropriate, and then working to do the notifications, the questions that people have about their assessments, and then to fulfill the assessment process. People have asked, okay, so are half the people in the city not paying their bills? Nope. There were more people in early 2019 when the program started that were not paying their bills. But right now, we have about 10% of folks, 10% of the accounts that are not paying their bills on a regular basis. And this is kind of in line with other utility companies, other retail establishments of the 10% of bad debt. But when you take a look at it, it really is not as much as some people believed would happen early in the garbage program's history. So how much are we assessing every quarter? So this chart gives you the amounts that we're assessing each quarter. 2019, we did have a higher number of assessments, but as you look at it, over time, we are seeing a reduction in the amount, thankfully, that we are having to assess to the property taxes. So there is an administrative fee for recycling, and that recycling fee on the property tax statement is $60.24 per unit per year for 1 to 3 unit properties, $38.16 for all 4+ unit properties. All residential properties, regardless of the number of units, from a single family home to a 300 unit apartment building, pay the recycling fee because every residential property in St. Paul is billed for recycling services. We do provide recycling service to every residential property in St. Paul. The recycling fee pays for the collection and processing of recyclables from all those properties. It pays for city customer service, waste reduction, and promotion activities, and it pays for the public space and event recycling. The the recycling containers that you see in the right of way, the education and outreach. It pays for folks to help you with those waste reduction plans when you have a community event. It helps pay for our organics drop off opportunities and the district council partnerships when we do our drop off events in partnership with the district councils. That is the end of this presentation. If you have questions about the presentation, you can email me at Susan, S-U-S-A-N, .young, Y-O-U-N-G, at ampersand, C-I dot S-T-P-A-U-L dot M-N dot U-S. That is my city email address. There's lots more information on stpaul.gov /solid waste. We have /garbage. We have lots and lots of information on the city's web pages about the garbage program, about diversion opportunities. We have lots of information about recycling. So we'll look forward to answering your questions or having you come and visit us on the web. Thank you very much for your attention to this presentation.